took a job and then was moonlighting also. But the job had a healthy snacks program, which, lined up perfectly with what the doctor said I should be eating: low fat, zero cholesterol. You know how it works, lots of
Yeah.
healthy whole grains
Healthy.
and all of this, so that, I wouldn't get my family's history of all of these different problems that pretty much everyone has: heart disease, high blood pressure, triglycerides. So I followed what my doctor said. Like, this guy's got to be smart, even though he was a little soft himself, looking back. Problem is, following his advice for the first time, I've always been an athlete and I wanted to eat healthy, but I didn't know exactly how to do it. But it was kind of directionally accurate. But once I followed his advice and really started doing it specifically and well, all of a sudden I put on 20, 30 pounds over the course of about a year. My triglycerides went up, my cholesterol numbers got wrecked, and all the problems we were trying to stop, here I am in my early 20s, getting them,
Wow.
looking like I'm 40 almost. And so
What are do you have any other tips and hacks as far as health and nutrition, since you're such an expert in fitness, on how our audience can feel unstoppable despite all the ups and downs that we've all been through? Because it's not really what happens to you, it's how you deal with it, isn't it?
it is how you deal with it. Yeah. And I would say it's all about being our own expert, our own guru. Build your own bag of tricks, the things that work for you, the types of exercise that you like. It's like, okay, I used to love running and I stopped doing it for a while, got injured and all of that. But, once I started running again, I'm just like, oh, I love this. How did I forget? Same thing with mountain biking. So for me and my bag of tricks, those are a couple of things. Unfortunately, I see so many people who are, in their 50s and 60s who maybe used to be athletic, but didn't necessarily build the skills to know how to work on the positions we should naturally be in and be able to lift weight in, like squats, right? Like doing a pull-up or a push-up correctly. And so as the years tick on by and people don't move this way, they forget, their body forgets how to do that, and they start stooping and they lose that. So kudos to you kettlebells are awesome, right? Because they train the back instead of the front. And most Westerners just train in a
The vanity
completely
muscle.
imbalanced way.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be hard, but you do have to find a way of working it into your schedule, right?
So do you have any tips for our listeners about how we can all age well? And I feel like I want to age backwards. I don't know. Do you think that's possible?
I do think it's possible.
I love
But it's
it.
possible in a month to month. You can look a lot worse, right? If you just go on a bender, or something really bad happens, or you lose sleep for a month, or it's really stressful, or just whatever, you can see people around you go from being in great shape, best shape of their life, to being really in the dumps, and their health is suffering pretty quickly. So I think it's one of these things that we really, yeah, you can age in reverse, but you can never outrun it. You never get there. You know what I mean? It's never, you're just like, I figured it out and it's cool now. It's like, nope, the target's always moving. The boundaries are always moving, and the world is stacked against us. If we want to be healthy, we have to be the weird ones. So you have to be willing to do weird things too.
And that's what we need to do in life too. I needed to fail. I needed failure. I had failed. There's plenty of times I had failed. I had failed not getting some contracts, or cutting a contract short. Instead of $5 million, I might have sold a $3 million contract. So I was making almost $100,000 a year at 24 years old.
Oh my God. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It was great, but it was also, I say it was great and bad at the same time, but it was great because I learned a lot about myself. It was bad because I'm about to tell you what happened because of that. And it was great again because I learned about myself and was able to change myself. So I didn't die, pretty much. We lived the fast life. I went to Hawaii. I went on cruises. I bought a brand new Camaro Z28, beautiful car. I just had so much money I didn't know what to do with, because here I am. I'm a single guy. I'm in my early 20s. I like to think of myself as halfway good looking. I mean, I'm getting a little old. So, I
Oh,
turned
go
42. But anyways, April 2005, I got hired as a full-time firefighter. I still was living this party lifestyle. firemen tend to drink a lot.
Oh, yeah, I can
It's
imagine. It's like a high
it's
stakes game, like advertising and marketing too.
yeah, it's no secret. We like our beers, and that lifestyle of mine didn't change. However, I took about a $50,000 pay cut to become a fireman. So I left this fast-paced, high-earning job, become a fireman because that's what I wanted to do for a living. So we fast forward into 2010. I'm still living that life, and I get nailed by the police.
Oh, so you got the DUI.
I got the DUI. Now here I am, a full-time firefighter, well-respected member of the community. A lot of people know me. More people know me now because of the podcast and everything like that. But it was devastating. I was in my bedroom for probably a good week straight, and I remember being curled up in a ball in the bed and just looking into the corner of the walls where all your two walls and your ceiling meet in that little corner, and I just stare at that. And I was
Oh,
in such a deep state that I thought I was losing my job.
yeah. So you're going through your divorce and your DUI, and you have a young little girl.
Everything's hit. Everything's hit. I mean, I had you think of it as I had life. I had the life. I was a full-time firefighter. I had a beautiful little 3-year-old daughter. I was newly single, so I'm starting to turn, my life back around there. Um, Started getting into fitness a little bit at that point, and then that came crashing in. Now, what I decided was that I wasn't going to let this define me.
What I want to know is all the tips. So it was
Right?
having your daughter. It was not focusing on what you can control, which is what already happened, but the
Exactly.
mindset piece and focusing on what you can control, which is your future. So
Right.
what are your tips on how to fail forward?
So, like my quote is, the failure is the golden key to success that everybody is afraid to use. And it's so true. And you hear some of the greatest minds in our country talk about failure, and you think about failure and the opportunity it brings. You have to fail
I've
to
been
learn,
there. I've been there.
right?
Yeah.
Sure. Who hasn't, right? I'm sure your listeners listening to this right now are going, Kevin, you are so right. You have to fail. You think about it. Think about kids when they try to walk. They fall over 15 times, but that kid isn't developed enough to understand that nobody's going to judge them for that. So what do? They keep getting up and trying to walk, right? It sounds a little cliche, but it's so true. And that's what's true in life. That's why you have to own what you did. And that's where the own it comes in on my
Oh,
on my
own it.
side.
I love it. Oh, such a pleasure. I feel like the world really needs your special sauce right now. So, can you talk a little bit about the importance of taking care of ourselves? In the book, I think you call this learning to self-regulate.
Yes, now more than ever, we are, we're really in an amplification time of whatever we're needing to look at and let go of. All of it's being amplified for us. And so taking care of ourselves is, the basic stuff of getting enough sleep and eating well and moving our bodies and doing those type of things. But even beyond that is really taking care of our thoughts, watching what we're saying, watching what we're thinking, and paying attention to what emotions are coming up, because that really is a way of self-regulating. It's really a way of taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves and honoring where we are. If we have a whoosh of fear or worry that comes up, instead of suppressing it or doing something to avoid it, to be able to sit with that energy, because everything is energy, then we're really being respectful of ourselves, and we're really allowing ourselves to be with ourselves and taking time to meditate and really looking at this as almost like a reset time, like pushing the reset button. Like, what do I want different in my life? What contrast? What is this particular situation that's universal, but every person is going to experience it differently? What can I take away from this? Well, how am I going to be better because of this situation? And really being able to invest time in yourself. That there's no more better time than right now to practice self-care.
I'm wondering, so many people feel as though they're in a negative spiral with their life and their health, and the harder they work, the less they have to show for it, and the more discouraged they become in that whole spin cycle. Can you share some of the things that can help reverse that kind of negativity?
Yeah, so there's a 3-step process that I recommend. I still do to this day. I had to do it the other day because, again, everything is amplified for us. Is you want to stop focusing on what you don't want and what's going wrong or bad or what contrast is coming up. You want to look at, what do I want? You want to ask yourself, what do I want? And then beyond that, because that shifts your focus, now you want to start to create a different energy. And so when you look at things and say, what do I want? Why do I want that? And you start listing and thinking about all the reasons why you want what you want, then you start shifting your energy and you start shifting the momentum. And then when you're thinking about all the reasons why you want something, why we want anything is because we want to feel something. We want to either feel better in the having of it, or we want to just feel differently. So what do you think by having this thing, this person, this place, this whatever it is, this experience is going to give you? And that's really the energy. Everything is energy. And when you can feel fulfilled or successful or abundant or secure or calm, whatever it is, when you can feel that as an energy first, then all manifestations come after the flow of the energy. But a lot of times we're running after something. We think we want the man or the pile of money or a new career or whatever it is. It's because we're going to feel a certain way. But we need to feel that way, and then we attract what we want to us.
So I think, embracing challenge is a good thing, because, and I think a slight bit of hardship in a person's life is a good thing. And a small example is, it's easy to go to a supermarket and buy some fish. I do a lot of spearfishing. So when I spearfish, or I go fishing off a kayak, and it takes me hours to get one fish, that fish is really meaningful when I eat it.
I love it.
I have a real connection with that. And it's kind of a little bit stressful and a bit challenging trying to get that fish. So that's kind of what I mean, where I think having a bit of challenge and a bit of hardship is good. It makes us appreciate.
Yeah, so for me, a complete transformation is something that I've learned about over the past few years, going through my own personal journey, but also it stemmed from Fit to Fat to Fit, where I did this crazy experiment where I put on 75 pounds of pure fat in 6 months' time.
That is crazy.
It is crazy, and it was way harder than I ever imagined it would be. And I did it to try and gain a better understanding of what it was like to be overweight for the first time in my life, because here I was, someone who had never been overweight. I was a personal trainer trying to help people who had been overweight every single day of their life. And there was a disconnect. And so I felt like I needed to do this. And so I did it. It was very humbling. I learned so many valuable lessons, especially on the mental and emotional side. I used to see transformation as just physical. Oh, eat less and work out.
Right.
Why can't you do that? It's not that hard. Just put the junk food down, go to the gym, and then you do it. And then boom, your body changes. Why don't people actually do it? And so going through this experiment and being humbled and seeing things from a different perspective really opened my eyes to the key to a true transformation is helping people overcome their mental and emotional challenges that have been holding them back for years. Everyone can do a diet, but to live a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle consistently over time is something that takes someone overcoming those emotional hurdles.
What's interesting to me is that I know you've overcome obstacles in your life, and I would love to see if you want to share more with your empathy piece, because I know for me, I've overcome abuse in my life, and I know that that empathy piece helps me relate to people that are stuffing their feelings with food because of that, or whatever they're stuffing their feelings with. In my business, it's food. Do you want to talk about some of your obstacles and how maybe fitness and nutrition and empathy can help you get over some of the hard things?
Yeah. So as a coach, as a personal trainer, as a leader, an influencer, I truly believe this quote. It says, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And so I feel like if we show up with empathy and understanding someone first, then that person is more willing to listen and trust what we have to say before we just show up as an expert saying, hey, I know how to fix you. Here's how to fix your problems. and I have all the knowledge. I don't feel like that builds a relationship of trust, a deep connection between trainer and client. And so anyone out there that's a coach, that's an influencer, that's a leader of some type, I believe showing up with empathy first will really earn someone's trust and respect for you, versus if you just show up as the authoritative expert on this, in this field. And I think that's where a lot of people make a mistake, is they don't know anything about empathy. They confuse it with sympathy sometimes, which is kind of like pity.
Right. It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not the same thing. And so I feel like to develop empathy, you either have to go out of your way, you do something crazy like I did, or connect with people from your heart and truly listen to understand instead of listening to respond. And so for me, that's what I try and preach in my messages on social media, in my programs, and it's how I try and show up when I'm trying to help someone, is instead of listening to respond to, okay, how can I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'm trying to fix the problems of what they're saying, instead of listening to truly understand where they're coming from. Because if you truly understand where someone's coming from, you realize that it's not the diet that's the problem. It's not the lack of exercise that's the problem. It's their own self-belief, their own self-worth in themselves. They sometimes don't feel like they're worthy enough or they're worth it to fight for their health, because they've tried everything. They've tried these things and it's hard for them. And they don't realize, that person might not realize that this issue with trying to stick to a diet actually stems from some type of childhood trauma where food was a safety net for them, where it provided safety and comfort for them in a time where maybe there was some trauma going on. And then it just got programmed in the brain that anytime I go through stress or heartache or hard times, food is my medicine. Food makes me
food. Thank you. I'm sure we're going to be so excited to hear about, it's so popular right now, ketosis, and you've been doing it for so long, and you actually lost 80 pounds, but who cares about that? Anyone can lose weight. You kept it off. And intermittent fasting, let's specifically discuss that for the first conversation, about intermittent fasting for more energy and productivity, because we all want that.
Yes, we do. And intermittent fasting is such a tool to get you that. When you think about the opposite of intermittent fasting, eating throughout the entire day, like most Americans do, they're eating every 2 to 3 hours. That is an energy sucker, because it takes massive amounts of energy and resources and blood flow to digest a meal. And if you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, even if it's a healthy snack, you're going to take energy away from your day-to-day activities, and you're going to use it for digestion. So fasting could be a great way to not only fix the gut because you're not eating food, but also use that energy for the task at hand, whether that's a podcast interview or a sales call, or you're speaking on stage, or whatever it is. You're going to have amazing energy, because what happens in the body when it thinks it's going through a famine, because it doesn't know about Uber Eats or DoorDash. It doesn't care about your refrigerator or the grocery store. When you go 16 hours, 18 hours without food, it thinks it's going through a famish. We're hardwired this way, every single cell. So it pumps up these counter-regulatory hormones, glucagon, cortisol, human growth hormone, and it's the body's literal way of pumping you full of energy so you can go out there into the world and hunt and kill. But you're going to use it as a CEO and entrepreneur to actually use it to just crush your day and have amazing energy levels. So I feel the best and I'm the most productive when I'm in the fasted state. We do not lose weight to get healthy. We get healthy to lose weight. And fasting is how you get healthy. It helps you reduce inflammation. It helps fix the gut. You get rid of damaged cells via a process called autophagy. So all these amazing things happen when you just don't eat food.
Thank you so much. You're such a wealth of information about this topic, and I really love all the work you're up to in the world. I want to talk more about brain fog and fatigue, because we've all been through so much lately. Sometimes I find myself in that condition just because of all the overwhelm of trauma that's been thrown at us lately.
Brain fog, fatigue, mental fatigue, forgetting people's names. It's so common, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
And a big reason, of course, is the glucose spikes that we mentioned, but also not getting quality sleep. Sleep is where your body is going to detoxify itself. You have this process called the glymphatic system that's activated during a stage 4 delta sleep. You have this cerebral spinal fluid flushing over the brain. The brain is shrinking in size. and it's flushing out toxins and accumulated plaques and proteins. So that's one of the best ways to deal or overcome brain fog and mental fatigue. Add quality sleep with fasting, and it's just a game changer. Those counter-regulatory hormones that kick in during a fast, the ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone, that helps you stay mentally sharp. It stimulates the brain stems, and you get that when you're in that fasted state.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited today. We have BJ the Dreamer here with us.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully I can really, truly add some value here today.
Well, when I heard you speak, I was like, this guy is going to really move my audience. So Brian Johnson is inspirational thought leader and Amazon #1 best-selling author of Live Your Dreams Out Loud, which I love. And television host, in-demand speaker, personal development coach. He's worked with several Emmy Award-winning shows like Joel Osteen, Kanye West, Betty White, Tyler Perry, Michael Strahan, Jessica Alba, Will Smith, John Legend, one of my favorites, Ariana Grande, Seth MacFarlane, Trevor Noah, Gwyneth Paltrow, Tracy Ellis Ross, Neil Patrick Harris, etc., LeBron James, Linkin Park, oh my goodness. And I'm so thrilled to have you here today because it's not really, to me, all about where you are now. I just want to inspire people how to go from being stuck to unstoppable. And when I heard your story, I was really moved. So
after, some brief stints at entrepreneurship, I just really was at a crossroads and asking myself, what is it that I really want to do with my life? And I think a lot of times we don't ask ourselves that question. And I reached out to this very well-known journalist and asked him, could I come shadow him? Could I come work from him and learn? Like, he didn't have to pay me a dime. But what he didn't know was, and to the thing that you were asking me, was months before, I was depressed. I was suicidal. My girlfriend had broke up with me. I was drinking a lot at the time. And, there was a moment that I was homeless. When I say homeless, like, I wasn't like living on the streets, but I was living in my car for a matter of weeks. And, I was taking showers at LA Fitness, and I was just trying to figure out life. I was trying to figure out life because I knew I had this dream, and I just didn't necessarily know how I was going to access that dream. I didn't know how to go from unstuck to, being unstoppable. I didn't know what that was like at the time. So I found somebody that was really successful, and I reached out to him and I asked him, could I help him? And that pretty much changed my life. And so here we are today, 7 years later. I've written the book, Live Your Dreams Out Loud, which you have back there, which I love. And that became a bestseller when I first released it in 2014, the first edition. And so 5 years have passed, and I wanted to update it and revise it. And I've done a lot. I'm living my dream now. I have my own TV show. We did season 1 of the Dreamer series, where I travel the country interviewing entrepreneurs, creatives, and I'm getting a chance to speak on stages all across the country. I'm a personal development coach, and I really have clients that I help them transform their lives to get them from being unstuck to being unstoppable, to truly live their dreams. So
would you suggest that other people reach out to someone that they want to emulate and ask for if they can work for them for free and shadow them the way that you did?
Absolutely. It's going to cut down on your learning curve, because at the end of the day, like, why would you want to go out and make all these mistakes? There's somebody that's already been successful at what it is that you want to do. And so you essentially should reach out to them and see if you can help them in any capacity. Because people like myself, I'm always needing help in something. And I'm not just one of those to be like, well, I need you to move these papers here or file this here. I want you to get real, world experience. And so I encourage everybody to find somebody that's been really successful at what it is that you're looking to do, and reach out and try to add value to them in some capacity and shorten your learning curve.
Oh, that makes total sense. And I'm all about actionable steps. I wonder, out of all of your steps, like, do you have any advice for people, like, what to do when things don't go your way and you find yourself at a crossroads, and any positive steps you could suggest?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to find gratitude. I think you have to find gratitude in the process. You have to embrace the process to understand that, it's life, and you're going to grow through stuff. I don't say go. I say you're going to grow through stuff. So when things don't appear to be working out. Maybe you need to take a step back. Maybe you need to level up and invest into somebody that's going to help you get to that point. You know, I invest into coaches, personal development coaches, mentors. I'm always trying to better myself. So listen, like on this journey and this path through life, you're going to grow through things. And when life just doesn't appear to be in favor to you or for you, it's important for you to, number one, find gratitude in a space. Like you gotta accept, like, listen, I have my health. You know, I have a house, I have a car, I have the essentials that I need. And if you don't have the essentials, it is okay because you can get the essentials. So, you know, you got to find gratitude in the space. I think you have to redefine your method of clarity, which is the first chapter in my book that I talk about, because I think getting clarity and being able to figure out and remove the distractions in your life, because we have so many things that distract us from preventing us from having the tunnel vision that we need in order to get our goals accomplished.
And if you probably heard of Bragg's amino acids, of course.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Paul Bragg spoke, and in one night, in 1 hour, this one man with one message that one night really got to me. And he said, we have a body, we have a mind, and we have a soul. And the body must be directed by the mind, and the mind must be guided by the soul to maximize human potential. And nobody ever talked to me like this. And he said that what you say to yourself, what you think for yourself, what you visualize for yourself, and how you feel about yourself, and what actions you take change your destiny. That night, I saw a vision of what I wanted to do. And I got clear about, I could call it a mission. Over the next 3 weeks, I studied with this gentleman. And I got clear about my mission statement. I started writing down my objectives. I started to talk to myself differently. He gave me an affirmation to say to myself every single day for the rest of my life, because I told him I couldn't read. He said, every single day you say, I'm a genius and I apply my wisdom, and you never miss a day for the rest of your life, every single day, until every single cell of your body tingles with it, and so will the world. I've never missed a day in 47 and a half years, I've never missed a day. But because I later learned that a genius is one who listens to their inner vision and follows the inner voice of their soul and obeys. In other words, they let the voice and the vision on the inside become louder than all opinions on the outside, and they persevere something. So I ended up that night having a real epiphany. And I knew that I wanted to, after I wrote down my objectives and mission statement, that I wanted to step foot in every country on the face of the earth. I wanted to learn how to read. I wanted to overcome my learning problems. I wanted to become knowledgeable, intelligent. I wanted to be able to practice speaking so I could speak properly. And I wanted to become a teacher and go to every country and share whatever I researched that would help inspire somebody.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about being unstoppable, because you didn't let anything, I mean, excuses are my least favorite thing in the whole world. So what would you say to somebody who has been through a lot and encourage them to keep going no matter what?
Well, anything you can't say thank you for is baggage. Anything you can say thank you for is fuel. And there's nothing in the way, it's all on the way. And so it's about the questions you ask. If you ask the questions, how's whatever's happened to me, how's it helping me fulfill my mission on earth? And don't give yourself bullshit answers. Answer the question, hold yourself accountable, and find out how it's serving you instead of how it's not. Everything has two sides. It's just taking the time to look for it. Otherwise, you're unconscious of the upsides and you're focusing on the downsides, which is a bias. So you got to ask, how's it on the way? Then it's wise to sit down and actually look at what you do spontaneously that nobody has to remind you to do, that you never have to be reminded to do. And start prioritizing your life and filling your day with highest priority actions. If you fill your day with high priority actions that inspire, your day doesn't fill up with low priority distractions that don't. And you build momentum. And when you do, because you're doing something that's congruent and aligned with who you really are, you'll build momentum. You'll expand your space and time horizons. You'll wake up your certainty. You'll end up tackling challenges that inspire you, which wake up genius. And you'll end up going and contributing in ways that you didn't even know you were capable of doing. And if you go and dedicate your life to some specific cause or service that you want to give to the world, then making a difference in their lives and getting handsomely, sustainably, fairly compensated for it. Allows you to delegate everything else off your plate so you can go live an inspired life.
Yeah, he said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And that means you can do anything you want in life. Now get off your butt and go do it. And, you know, just for some reason it stuck with me. I don't know why. I don't know if it stuck with anybody else, but it stuck with me that day.
Oh, it works. And I want to talk about the topic about being unstoppable. And I even loved reading a little bit about your story about how you got started in the financial world. And I love how you say the low IQ, but the high I will. So can you touch upon that a little bit for me?
Yeah, I always tell folks, especially when I speak, I say, look, what it takes for you and I to be successful, what it takes for you and I to bounce back from adversity. And by the way, we all will go through adversity because life's not fair, life's not unfair, life is life. And the only thing we can do when we're blessed to flip open our eyelids in the morning is do the best we can with what we've got, right? And it's not about how many times you get knocked down, because you and I will be knocked down. If you want to be unstoppable, it's about how many times, this is important, you decide to get up. You got to decide to get up and get off your butt and actually get up. And so the whole I will IQ, I always say what it takes to be successful and overcome things and to be unstoppable. It's not about how much smarts you have. It's about how much heart you have. And it's not about your IQ. It's about your I will.
Unstoppable.
Well, for sure. Well, you know, I think being unstoppable starts with your mindset. And really just having a big why that makes you cry. That's what I tell people all the time. So you need to have something just beyond yourself that really drives you on a daily basis, right? So once you figure out that why, then, you know, you just start putting the pieces together. And nutrition is so important because, you know, in a sense, you are what you eat and what your body absorbs. And that's what makes the raw material in your system. And so we've got to eat pure, nutrient-dense, life-giving food. So important to do that. And, you know, we've got to move our bodies. So we actually produce energy through movement. Most people don't realize this, but.
So how can nutrition help with just bouncing back and being unstoppable?
Yeah. So one big thing that really affects our mind, our emotions, and our energy is blood sugar imbalances. So when we're eating foods that are higher in carbohydrates, particularly simple carbohydrates, but really all carbohydrates other than fiber, it's going to throw off our blood sugar, and we're going to have high and low blood sugar. And that's going to end up causing emotional imbalances. We're going to end up causing more brain fog and inflammation throughout our system. And so prioritizing healthy fats, making sure every single meal has healthy fats. And by healthy fats, I mean things like avocados, olives, olive oil, grass-fed butter, right?
I like to put that in my coffee, some healthy fats. I love it. Thank you for all that. So in addition to the mental bonus of the fasting is giving you the even kill mental blood sugar levels where you're not being as reactive to stuff. And I love the fact that you're going to become then a fat burner rather than a sugar burner. So it's going to give them added weight loss benefits too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you fast, and when you're on this lower carbohydrate diet and eating these healthy fats, you actually teach your body to start burning fat for fuel. See, we've got this critical hormone called insulin. When insulin's high, we store fat. When insulin's low, we burn fat. And so when we're on this lower carb diet, when we're fasting, insulin lowers, and now our body says, okay, I can use these fatty acids for fuel. We start burning fat, which obviously gives us that advantage where we become just a great fat burner. We get to our optimal weight. But also on top of that, those healthy fats, using that for energy, produces these amazing molecules called ketones, which dramatically reduce inflammation in our body. And they actually help turn on healthy genes in our brain that give us greater mental resilience, greater ability to bounce back from stress, and just greater cognitive processing speed. So you're able to think sharply and quickly and remember quicker when you've got these ketones elevated in your system.
I love your direct East Coast calling people out on their crap approach. And our topic today, we can jump into suggestions on how to be unstoppable.
Well, the first thing you have to get is how stoppable you are, right? Like you can't be unstoppable if you think you should be unstoppable and you're stopped, right? So
I've
the
been
first
there.
thing about unstoppability is it lives on the other side of when you're stopped.
So it's like a personal responsibility kind of thing.
No, it's like wake up to the human being, right? Do you want to get out of bed? No, not unless you're going on vacation, right? or going for some yummy breakfast, right? Like there are things you want to jump out of bed for, and then there's life, right? And so some people love what they're doing and jump out of bed, but if you're the person who doesn't jump out of bed, you're stopped. As a matter of fact, that's your chance to be unstoppable. So in a place where you're unstoppable, that's not that interesting. It's great, yeah, you. But in a place where you're stopped, this is the only place where being unstoppable is actually a breakthrough.
I love action steps, and just taking action instead of lying on a couch complaining about a problem is something I'm a huge fan of. And I know you've been doing this since 2004. Do you have any hacks on how we can become unstoppable that you want to share with us?
Of course. So I think the secret sauce is to expect that you don't want to keep a promise, but you need to. My joke is I teach the promised land, where you learn to keep promises to yourself. And the way I make myself keep a promise is I always put in a consequence. A consequence is not a punishment.
Right.
It's actually good for you, but it feels like a punishment to your vices or your dark side. Okay, like I'm not actually being nice to your lower self. I'm being a little shitty to your lower self. And so here's an example of one I use on me.
Okay.
I have many, because I am the original jerk who needed all of this, right? And then I still need this today, or else I wouldn't be who I am today, ever. Okay.
Me too.
So,
I love it.
So I wanted to meditate twice a day for 6 weeks straight. And I wanted to know what that would feel like, or what I would say, or what I would learn from that, right? There is nothing about me that actually wants to take that time out and do it twice a day. Nothing. As a matter of fact, ha ha ha. Okay, I'm not that person. I'm not.
You're too type A.
I'm like, really? Put the timer on, and don't even check the timer. Wait, I even need a rule not to look, because I'm that jerk. Okay, I do. So here, and if I do look, I have to start it over. Don't worry, I never start it over. I never look, but you can hear my logic working. So here's the rule. In order for me to get my coffee in the morning, I needed to meditate. Run downstairs, put the pot on, come back up, coffee.
I love that. That would motivate me to do anything.
I did Hercules for 7 years. I was down in New Zealand. I got to brag a little bit. 176 countries. We became the most watched TV show in the world. We passed Baywatch by season 3. And then I left the show at its top because I got an offer from Majel Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's widow, to do the first show he created after the original Star Trek series, and it's called Andromeda. He wrote it way back in 1969. So my captain, Dylan Hunt, was the first captain after Captain Kirk, and that was 5 years up in Vancouver, British Columbia. And we are the #1 show in first-run syndication for all 5 years as well. And then I've gone since then. I've done 61 movies. I just finished my 61st movie. I'm about to start movie number 62 up in Georgia. We start filming next month. I think the greatest lesson I learned on failure was when I was a caddy, back when I was 18 and 19 years old during the summers there in Minnesota. I caddied at this private country club. And my dad was a school teacher. So my clothes, my hand-me-downs for my brothers, whatever money I could scrape to get my own. But I never felt without. My parents were awesome. But I asked these guys, I said, how did you become so successful? And I was, like I said, I was there for 2 summers, so I got to meet a lot of people out there, and they all said the same thing, which I found interesting. They all said I failed, and I failed again, and I failed again. But I didn't use it as a negative, I used it as a positive. And people forget about that. I think too many people fail and give up so quickly on their goals and their dreams because they might fail once or 100 times. Well, the reality is you got to keep pushing through it, and you got to use those failures as a positive because you can learn something good from each thing that happens to you in negative ways. So when I moved to LA, I mean, everybody's an actor in California. So you get out there and it's all about rejection in the industry of Hollywood. So you've got to get used to that, and you got to find a way to fight around that. So to me, the lesson I learned from those guys, and also from my mom and dad, about hard work paying off and don't expect handouts, go out there and work hard. And I've always had a very good work ethic, and I think that's paid off for me in so many ways. Well, I think the biggest lesson to learn is don't let anyone set your limitations, especially yourself. I think too many people, as I said, they just give up. I mean, and FDR said it decades ago as president. He said the only thing to fear is fear itself.
And my mindset's all about just being very clear that I'm responsible for the experience that I'm having, taking full responsibility for all of my actions, my choices, my behaviors, because when you do that, then you can make other changes in your life. When you are in blame or thinking other people are responsible for how you feel, then you give your power away. So making sure that you're responsible, you're able to respond with ability to all your feelings, emotions, choices, so that you can make a new choice, have a new feeling, because they're your feelings and you have power over that. You don't have power over the people, but you have power over your mindset and your choices.
I love that piece. And why don't you tell us a little bit about problem solving and how that can help our audience go from stuck to unstoppable?
Yeah. So problem solving is so important, and it's so good to just embrace the fact that we're all going to have problems. I mean, problems is how we learn, and that's a way of just how life is. There's always going to be problems. However, I'm going to give you a little tool that'll help you. So I feel that there are 3 solutions to every problem. So if you know that there are 3 solutions to every problem, all you have to do is write down the 3 solutions that you can come up with, and then choose one and make a choice and move forward. So what happens is a lot of people get a problem and they're too afraid to solve it because they don't trust themselves, they don't have enough experience, or maybe they haven't had success in the past. But the real problem is you not making a choice to move forward. So choosing not to choose is actually a choice, and it's really dysfunctional. So you write down your 3 solutions, all the best ones you can come up with, and you choose one and you move forward. And maybe through that choice, it's revealed that, oh, now you can go maybe in this direction. You keep course correcting, but you keep making decisions. The minute you stop making decisions, you become stoppable. So you have to get good at solving problems.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about consistency and how that can help our audience?
So consistency is a key ingredient to being unstoppable, because you have to be consistent. Consistency is your ability to make consistent steps forward. And that's why problem solving is such a big part of this. And so consistency also builds personal integrity and personal credibility. When you're consistent, you build trust. There's trusting behavior on your part, and when you build trust, you collaborate much easier, right? And the way that you can do this, be more consistent, is just look at this, what I call the creation trilogy. And so thoughts, words, and deeds. So this is a little tool for you. Thoughts, words, and deeds. Everything you think about and everything you say and everything you do needs to be congruent. And when you're congruent with what you're thinking about saying and doing, you can be more consistent. It's when we send out conflicting messages about what we're doing that we break down that ability to be consistent. So consistency is just getting up every day and doing exactly what you said you thought you would do, so that you can have the outcome that you want.
I got offered a job in the internet for a salesperson to sell legal research. $250,000 comp plan. I got extremely focused and utilized the power of 64. I worked twice as many hours, twice as efficiently, twice as statistically successful. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 was 32. 32 times 2 was 64 productive hours. 7 days a week, though, because I don't believe in working. I believe in activity I got paid for, activity I didn't get paid for, and I find the light or love and find the light in everything I do. So with that perspective, I was able to make $1 million in 9 months. I always tell people, ironically, they were giving me all these awards for being so far above plan. But if you do the math of productive hours, I basically had worked 10 years. So I was far below my plan. I just beat them with time and statistics. From there, I continued to brand myself an internet guru, became a multimillionaire in the Silicon Valley, not only investing, but raising money, and finally becoming the CEO of the world's first smartphone. But I learned to vote for what I wanted. And if you're going to have one takeaway from this, stuck to unstoppable, it's if you want to be unstuck and you want to be unstoppable, you got to start voting for what you want. You cannot vote for what other people want for you, because you're going to end up getting or electing what other people want for you and resenting them, be offended by it. You're going to create shortages, voids, and obstacles, and you're just going to be stuck. You're going to think, say, do, and believe all the right things, but the unconscious competency will not have a new frequency. You'll carry the same frequency genetically from the 4 generations that preceded you.
Do you have any other advice that you want to give our audience? Because I know you're also into meditation. So how does having a meditation practice help you with the inevitable ups and downs? I mean, not all of us have gone up to 100 million and back down and back up again. So congratulations on all your success multiple times. But what other actionable tips do you have for us on that with meditation?
Yeah, so meditation is part of my routine. So I do it every day. 20 minutes of meditation is worth more than 20 hours a week. So be consistent about your meditation. For me, meditation is about, and I do it at 4 a.m. when I wake up every morning, is about finding my higher frequency. Finding my highest frequency through meditation allows me to enjoy every day the consistent, without quit, persistent pursuit of my higher frequency or potential or truth. And so allowing me to have a baseline that's set so high every day also raises my awareness to when I am in ego-based consciousness, when I have the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, scared, any of these feelings that cause me to have a lower vibration or a lower frequency, or are causing me to move in the wrong trajectory, meaning I'm voting for the wrong things. What happens through meditation for me is that I am able to find a higher frequency, a greater potential, greater awareness, which allows me to roll in the right direction, to keep on the path that I'm looking to stay upon, which allows me not to waste energy, allows me to clear the connection to the highest power of energy source, light that exists, that I'm always connected to. All of these different things are predicated upon the one mere fact that I meditate specifically to find this higher self, this higher frequency. And I encourage everyone to explore meditation. I utilize theta meditation. I'm a quantum healer. I've done it for 11 years. It's the most significant activity that I utilize every day next to sleep.